Hey guys, welcome back. In this session, we will learn about accessing Excel cell value. First, we will try to see how do we read an Excel cell value using a VBA. Then we will look into writing it back to an Excel cell. We'll also look into a scenario where we have multiple worksheets and we want to read or write from a specific worksheet. So let's get started. On your Excel sheet, go to Developer, View Code. Let's create a subroutine. So before we start, the idea is to read an Excel cell value. So let's go to Excel first and understand how do Excel reference cells. If you look at the first column or row, we have a value called Apple. And if you notice, this is referenced as A1. In other words, it can also be read as row 1 and column 1. Excel cells are always referenced in row and column manner. So in order to reference this cell, what we can say is the Apple value is stored in a Excel row 1, column 1. Using this concept only, we'll try to read this value in VBA. Let's create a variable value. This will be cells. As we discussed, it's in row 1 and column 1. We'll say an attribute called value. So now value variable stores the value of cell 1, that is row 1, column 1. Let's see into message box what it's printing. Apple. So that is the value in row 1 and column 1. That's how we read values. Let's also try to see if we can write it back to an Excel cell. Let's assign a value of banana to the value variable. Now let's write it back into row 2 and column 1 so that it comes after apple. So let's say cells, row index is 2, column index is 1, dot value is equals to our variable value. So this will write it back to the Excel cell. When I run this code, you'll see banana comes after apple. You can also reference the column name with an alphabet which it represents. For an example, in this case, if you say column A and row 3, let's try to assign a different value now. So this will come after banana. You can see it's coming after banana because it's in row 3. So you can either reference column by their letters or the column index. That's how we read or write into an Excel cell. Let's take a scenario where you have more than one sheet. So we have a sheet 1 and sheet 3 now. In order to read values from sheet 3, we'll have to change the instance of the cell which it's reading from. So right now, if I run it again, it will still be referencing the sheet 1. So in order to specify sheet 3, we'll have to create an instance of sheet 3 and specify that. So let's go back and reading the cell values. We'll read cells 1, 1 dot value, print it into a variable. So now if I run this, it is still referencing the sheet 1 value. In order to reference sheet 3, what I'll have to do is use a function called worksheets, and you can define a worksheet by an index of worksheet. In this case, it's the second worksheet, or you can use the sheet name. So I'll use sheet name here. So now it knows it needs to reference the cell from sheet 3. Currently the value is blank, so the message box should give us blank as expected. If I change the value to sheet 3 apple, we can see it shows sheet 3 apple. So in order to reference a cell from a particular worksheet, you need to define which worksheet you're working on. Instead of the worksheet name, you can also use the sheet index. In this case, the index is 2. If you run this, you will see sheet 3 apple. So you can reference the worksheets by the work name or the sheet index. That's how you read values from Excel, write values into Excel, or reference different sheets.